And so we come to the final race of the cross-country season. The men's pursuit over 15 kilometers on a warm, bright afternoon here in Falun, which next February will welcome the world of Nordic cross-country skiing. So the journey today, 4 rotations of 3.75 kilometers. The first rotation containing the steepest of the climbs up to 1,600 meters, and then a descent down into the stadium, and then the big climb again in the second of the rotations, with the start list determined after Friday's sprint and yesterday's skiathlon, and this is the way they are going to move today. So Alex Harvey, who is in 4th place with a real chance of getting onto the overall World Cup podium for the first time in his life. He'll be starting off and saying, "Catch me if you can," to, in particular, Martin Jonsrud Sundby, who starts 26 seconds behind, together with Alexander Legkov. And then a gap of a minute to Rickardson and Eldar Roning, the classic specialist. But this is 15 kilometers freestyle skating. So Alex Harvey on the right of your screen in that whitish race suit for Canada gets underway here, and the winner's going to take 200, and then it's 160 points here, so a real chance for Alex Harvey to move on to the 3rd step of the podium. If he can hold off and get good points, he would leapfrog Norway's Chris Jespersen, who's currently in 3rd place. Legkov on the far side there, on the extreme left, wearing bib number 3, going off there with Martin Jonsrud Sundby. He's in 2nd place, can't be caught, and neither can Martin Jonsrud Sundby, who yesterday wrapped up the distance crystal globe. And now just waiting for Rickardson, the tall man on the right of your screen there, wearing 4, the man who won the Oslo 50. What a great performance by him. Olympic medalist, of course, as well. And so many have so much to look back on with pride this season. 5 is Eldar Roning, classic specialist, particularly over 15 kilometers. The distance would be perfect, but he'd prefer this to be a classic finale here. And after him, Velezhanin for Russia with 2 minutes to make up, and similarly Jean-Marc Gaillard and Shurota of Norway, 2:23. Mathematically, I just don't think they're going to be able to close that sort of gap. But here you have the man who gets us underway here, Alex Harvey, 25 years of age, from Mont-Saint-Anne, and of course a winner in Oberhof in the Tour de Ski, in the 1.5 kilometer time trial, a winner of the sprint, the freestyle sprint in Śląska Poręba in Poland, and of course the pursuit here, the skiathlon in Falun. So yesterday a really good day for him, and it's been a really good visit to Falun. The only people who've really suffered are the women's ski jumpers and also the Nordic combiners. Both of their competitions today missing out because of a wind of about 4 meters per second, which earlier in the day forced the abandonment of the women's competition and the cancellation of the men's team competition. So not quite the finale they would have wished for or hoped for. But this race well underway. Now, earlier in the day, if you were with us, you'll have seen, obviously, Teresa Johaug realize her dream of a lifetime to win the overall Wiesmann Winter World Cup of cross-country ahead of Marit Bjørgen. And she started with a 15-second advantage over Bjørgen, but apart from one moment in time where Bjørgen managed to reduce the gap to 11 seconds, after that it was all about Therese and that high tempo of her racing, which is her characteristic. Might be a bit different here with these two guys working together. There, the yellow bib, which Jonsrud Sundby will retain ahead of Alexander Legkov, the hero of the last day of the Olympics of cross country, leading that 1-2-3 whitewash in the men's 50-kilometer race. What a finale for the cross country program there in Russia. But these two working together should be able to nibble into the advantage of Alex Harvey. Whether they can get all there, we'll have a look as they come up the first of the checkpoints, 1,200 meters there, and you can see 24 seconds, so just a second or two, and Rickardson going through. Rickardson, who I think will find this pretty tough, 59 seconds. He's taken 4 seconds out, but there's Alex Harvey, and the spectators have been really terrific over the whole of the weekend. Out in the woods here, this is what you can expect and more next year. Today, yesterday, they've been 2-3 deep. Next year, well, with the Norwegians coming across, I'm sure they're going to be 5, 6, perhaps even 10 deep in certain places. Sundby in your picture there. What a story this has been. For so much of the season, the talk has been about Petter Northug, even though he's never been anywhere near his best. But Sundby, what a achievement this year when you think about it. He won the Ruka Triple early in the season. He won the Tour de Ski. And then, of course, at the Olympic Games, a bronze medalist there. Yesterday, wrapping up the endurance distance Crystal Globe, winning the BMW X-Drive brand new car. It's been one heck of a campaign, and seemingly these two have some determination to try and reel in Alex Harvey, who, as we saw yesterday, was the better of the trio in terms of sprinting, although Alexander Legkov did make a costly mistake. And Rickardson now coming up here. Richardson, he's 32 years of age, comes from Östersund, and of course the high point for him, that's 50-kilometer gold at Oslo, meeting His Majesty King Harold. That's well, for most people it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But Alex Harvey still with an advantage here, and there's a clear effort being put in by Legkov and also Martin Jonsrud Sundby, because they're now beginning to eat into this advantage. And I wouldn't be surprised if they've got it down to something like 16, 17 seconds by the time we get back into the stadium. They get a visual there round the turn. Harvey's skiing nicely there, good composure, good technique. Jonsrud Sundby much more comfortable than Legkov on these twisty sections here. But these trails, they've really whetted our appetite for next year. They've got a lot about them. Twists, turns, drops, climbs. Well, a big push has come on there. They were 16 seconds behind the chasing duo as they went through the stadium at 3,750 meters. But the last 1,500 meters here, as they come up to 5,300 meters, about a third of the journey, and they've got it to, well, as you can see there, a second or two. And now we have the front three together. And they must be now, they've been pulling away from Rickardson, who went through the stadium after 3.75 kilometers, some 54 seconds back. And he's also making some progress, but the others are still a best part of 2 minutes and more behind them. So the way it's looking at the moment, it's going to be between the front three here. And this will be potentially very good news for Harvey if he can make sure that he stays in that front three and picks up big points. He could squeeze onto that World Cup podium. And as they lead away from Daniel Ricketson, now that's a good piece of skiing from Ricketson, because he's got the gap down from 1:03.63 seconds to inside 50. And this is the chasing posse. 5 there, that's Röning on the left. 8, that is Schurota. Behind 10, that's Marcus Hellner in the white for Sweden. 7, that's Jean-Marc Gaillard in the black and yellow for France, of course. 9, just at the back there, Matti Heikkinen for Finland. And then 6, that's Velekjanin of Russia. For the front 3, already making their way back to the stadium. This first loop here on the red has the biggest climb, just as it had for the women. 286 meters of climbing, and the height difference 68 meters from the stadium floor. And here, this really demanding hill. And Ledkov now, and Sundby and Harvey are looking pretty good the way they're going at the moment. Soon to complete half the distance, and that little posse isn't really making any significant impression. Ricketson looking a little bit awkward round that left-hander, but you can see here the flow and rhythm you need to find on this course. And back to the leaders, past that very big Swedish wigwam, and up this slope under the Craft Bridge that will swing them round and bring them towards the stadium. Just a few reflections on the women's competition. Marit Björgen, totally delighted for her teammate Teresa Johaug to win the Women's World Cup. She said, I really would have had to have done better yesterday to have given myself a better chance today. But congratulations to Teresa. Teresa, of course, who wins not only the overall but also the Crystal Globe for the distance endurance racing. And in prize money this season, Teresa has notched up 228,125 Swiss francs. Marit Björgen, 203,375 Swiss francs. And then the absent Astrid Jakobsen, still recovering from that concussion after that really surprising fall in Oslo. Of course, everybody wishing her well. Not here to take her place on the podium, but she finishes in 3rd place ahead of Heidi Weng, her own teammate. So a wonderful way for the Norwegians to finish 7 of their women in the top 20. That's quite a force to be reckoned with. And Marit Björgen, plenty of consolation, of course. 3 gold medals at the Olympic Games and a brand new BMW car, because she won the X-Drive bonus points table. So it's a nice way for her to win the season. By the way, Jonsrud Sundby, he's also won the X-Drive car. He wrapped that up yesterday. There's Ricketson trying to get on terms. Coming down to the stadium floor, to the half distance, and the chase is on, but they're not really making much impression here. You can see the difference between them and Ricketson, and they've got to go all the way up the climb and round as the front 3 come in here all together. They need to keep the pace on here. There might be some tactics in their minds, but Ledkov will be looking for a bit of consolation from yesterday's mistake. And Sundby, of course, just tucking in there. At one point yesterday, I was just wondering whether the efforts of the season would catch up on him, but at the moment, he knows that he can afford to throw absolutely everything. It's the last race of the season, and he's been the dominant force And I hope that Norway give him the full respect that he deserves, because very few are able to do what he has done this year, which is to kick off in Kuusamo and also in Lillehammer and win those early competitions, and then surpass everybody in the Tour de Ski, and then still be fresh enough in the Olympic Games to get a medal. Of course, his medal coming in the opening skiathlon race. That was a pretty wonderful season. Add to that the car I just mentioned. Not a bad account here by Sundby. And the crowds have been terrific. Just thinned a little bit here. They've been a bit disappointed with the loss of the ski jumping action, but now you can see Sundby conscious of the fact to push on here. He doesn't want to let Rickardson or anybody else get into this. Quite happy to fight it out with the other two. He knows in a way that he can be quite relaxed because he's achieved so much and nobody can take the title away from him. And look at the fluency here. Look at the skis, not so high off the snow, keeping really good contact. That maintains the race speed, and you can see here Sundby 6.5 kilometers to go. Ahead of Ledkov, ahead of Alex Harvey. And these three, almost the tempo the same. Almost like synchronized skiing as they come in here. Some 17 minutes into the race. All credit to Daniel Rickardson. He's got the deficit down to, well, I've got it just down to inside 40 seconds, which is a really terrific effort on his part, because he wants to hold on to fourth place. And then the big chasing group, I've still got them 90 seconds or so behind Rickardson. So 8.7 kilometers, we're through halfway here, and it's really cat and mouse amongst these three. There's Rickardson, and just to confirm that, 38.2 seconds at 7.5 kilometers. So that's good. 8.7 kilometers, and Rickardson just beginning to lose a little bit of time. So Jonsrud Sundby, 29 years of age. He won't be 30 until September. Home for him in Oslo, the Norwegian capital. And a man who was a silver medalist at last year's World Championships in Val di Fiemme, got a silver medal in the skiathlon, the bronze, of course, this year at the Olympic Games. And worth reminding you, of course, that fourth in the last race of the whole of the Olympics in the 50, and he only got denied the bronze medal, Jonsrud Sundby, by 0.2 of a second by Chernousov. And just a little reflection on those Olympic Games, of course, Dario Colonia, the absentee today, but 2 gold medals ahead of the Swede Marcus Hellner, and Sundby, that was the 1-2-3 in the opening skiathlon. Hatterstad, the sprinter of the year, winning the World Cup, but before that the Olympic title ahead of Theodor Pedersen and Emil Jonsson, who was, I have to say, a bit fortunate to get that bronze. And then you saw in the 15-kilometer classic Colonia get his second gold medal ahead of Johan Olsen. Daniel Rickardson getting the bronze there individually, an excellent performance. And then Sweden's men taking the relay gold, before Finland, Ivo Niskanen and Sami Joajärvi taking the gold for the team classic sprint. And then finally that Russian clean sweep of Ledkov, Bergeljanin and Chernousov in the 50. So still these men making really significant progress up front here. Rickardson just losing time now. Perhaps the effort of trying to close has started to really tell on him. I've got him about 50 seconds down on the front three, but Eldar Ruining and Gaia, Hellner, Reuter, Velejanin, Heikkinen, who are all travelling pretty well together. They're still over 2 minutes behind, and they're still, that would put them, well, a good minute to 75 seconds behind Rickardson at the moment. So Jonsrud Sundby happy to do the work. Ledkov tucked in. Harvey just being as economical as he can. It's just like starting out with a full tank of petrol, and Jonsrud Sundby just squeezing a little bit more. Alexander Ledkov, well, after so many disappointments over so many seasons, finally that fantastic reward in the Olympics. He's 30, he'll be 31 in May, comes from Khanty-Mansiysk, perhaps better known for hosting the Biathlon World Championships. Second last year in the World Cup rankings and destined to finish second again this year, but consistent. Remember, last year he was the man who won the Tour de Ski, so Rickardson here. Big improvement from last year's World Cup performances when he finished in 24th place overall. It's not as good as his 2011 season when he was on the podium in 3rd place. That was the World Championship year in Oslo. But some fantastic races to look forward to at the Nordic Ski Worlds next season. Just sense that Rickardson doesn't have too much gas in the tank here. But mind over matter, just being a little bit cautious round that left-hander. And of course they're now through 11.25 kilometers, going on to 12.8, and Ledkov, Harvey, but Jonsrud Sundby still leading. So the three men who've been at the helm right the way through, about to embark on their last journey here. Jonsrud Sundby there, just inviting somebody else to do a bit of work. And leading the way here, Marcus Hellner for Sweden, then Gaia, then Velejanin third in that little group. But here we go, Al's on the last rotation, 3,750 meters between these men and a well-earned beer. But who is going to be first, who's going to be second and third? Is Alex Harvey going to get enough points here? By my unofficial reckoning, he's going to go into 3rd place overall. Well, he started with a deficit of 63 seconds, so he's still a little bit in profit here, Daniel Rickardson, but the leaders well on their way on this final loop now, and here they are. And as they wend their way for what looks to be, what could be an exciting final sprint to the season, just a reflection on the women, particularly at the Olympic Games. Marit Bjørgen winning the skiathlon ahead of Charlotte Kalla of Sweden and Heidi Weng for Norway. Teresa Johaug in 4th place on that occasion. Maika Kaspersen-Faller winning the Olympic sprint ahead of her Norwegian teammate Østberg, with Vesna Fabian getting the bronze medal for Slovenia. Justina Kowalczyk, who won the Women's 10K Classic, but then with foot problems decided to call an end to the season. Sweden's women brilliant in the relay. Ingemar Dotter, Viken, Emma Viken, who really does have a lot of promise. Anna Haag, very experienced. Charlotte Kalla, her gold medal to go with 2 silvers. And the Team Classic going to Norway. the Team Sprint Classic. Østberg and Marit Bjørgen getting gold medals for that, ahead of Saarinen and Niskanen for Finland, Ingsmar Dotter and Stina Nielsen for Sweden. Stina Nielsen, another really good prospect for the Swedes. And then Marit Bjørgen, Therese Johaug, and finally Kristin Styrer getting that elusive individual bronze medal. It's been a terrific season. It's been a season in the World Cup where really Marit Bjørgen, Therese Johaug, they've dominated. It was particularly that way when Justyna Kowalczyk decided that she would not contest the Tour de Ski. But back to the present now. Rickardson still on his own in no man's land. It's a little uncomfortable there because you can't see the men ahead of you. You can't hear the men behind you. But you just have to go with your coach's notes and splits to try and keep on your path. And so these men on the easier circuit, this is much easier than the first two rotations. The climbing is less. And you can see there the gap. Rickardson actually found a little, you can see there. Maybe it's the front three now who know that they've got this between them, just gathering their thoughts here about who does what and when. Ledkov, I think, is the man who has the greatest disadvantage here. He's not the natural sprinter. And now this is the serious climb here. Alex Harvey, though, he'll be absolutely delighted with his season. He has to. I think yesterday's skiathlon, he was really whooping with joy having achieved that victory. And at 25, arguably hasn't reached his power. There goes Ledkov. Ledkov's decided quite rightly that he can't leave this to a final sprint, so he's got to try to get away. But when you do that, you have to do it decisively. And Jonsrud Sundby, quick as a flash, was on him, and Harvey won't be far behind. And there's the counter-attack from Sundby to say to Ledkov, okay, you want to mess it around with me? I'll mess it around. And now Harvey just slightly caught there by that injection of pace of Sundby. Really good tactics there by Jonsrud Sundby. Wouldn't quite write off for Alex Harvey because he is a very good sprinter. But you can see there Sundby just opening up, and now it's catch-up here for the Canadian in second place. Ledkov, he played his cards early, but he didn't play them decisively. Jonsrud Sundby coming round, the left-hander, left and right round here. Couple of steps round there. Harvey, good. Ledkov just a little bit unbalanced there, so gives away an extra metre or two. Now it's an interesting observation here as to how the skis are running as much as anything else. Harvey on the chase here. Ledkov definitely in third place. He'll be struggling to recover from here. He looks booked for third place in this race here. Jonsrud Sundby just stood a little tall there, a little wobble there. You can see how hard these men are trying here. Jonsrud Sundby wants to finish the season with a real sparkle, trying to bring it home with a victory. That would be quite something. And that's really opened up the deficit to this man Rickardson. But still safe in fourth place as he drops down, but it's all about the front three. And there is Jonsrud Sundby. Nice aerodynamic tuck once again on the turn. This is such a busy track. You really get very little chance to, if any, to relax here. You're either twisting, turning, climbing or descending. And Alex Harvey, all to his credit, now really closing up here on the climb. This is where he needs to get onto the ski tails there, and he is doing so. Alex Harvey putting the power in. Ledkov is out of this. That camera foreshortening the distance there. Can Jonsrud Sundby hold off Alex Harvey? Can Alex Harvey find a little bit more? Fantastic acceleration there from Jonsrud Sundby. And it was perfect because he knew that Alex Harvey had closed up on him, and as soon as Alex Harvey got onto his ski dales, he went again, and that's a brilliant brain working in there. Sundby coming round again. Alex Harvey, he might still think that he's in with a shout here. Sundby seemingly still with those important gears to go through now, scampering up here. And this is something that's really being appreciated by the crowd. They're really seeing why Martin Jonsrud Sundby is the deserving, the outstanding overall athlete of the Viessmann Winter World Cup Series in the men's division. Swinging round here, Harvey with what must be the best part of 100 meters now. Remember, they've still got one more climb to do, and then a right-hander that brings them down and round into the stadium. Here is the climb, and Jonsrud Sundby being offered Norwegian flags, but saying, no, thank you, I really want to win this one. I really want to show that I'm top dog, and I am the outstanding athlete of the season. He drops down now and stays over to his left to come into the finish chute. The crowd on the side there, standing, waving. There is no Norwegian flag, but Martin Jonsrud Sundby, the World Cup champion for 2014, rounds off the season with a fantastic victory. 8th last year in the rankings, but the dominant force in World Cup, and eases off as Alex Harvey comes home to second place, and those 160 points are going to put him on the overall podium, his highest ever placing. And Alexander Legkov, who'll be second overall for the second successive year, he finishes in a very respectable 3rd place. So many have done so much and achieved so much over the months since we started in November. It's been a long journey, and here is the top Swede getting the appreciation. Remember, the Swedes, they came home after Sochi, but this is the first time they've been performing on home snow since their terrific success in the Olympic Games. And there, the front three. And the margin of victory only 5 seconds or so, because he eased off there, but Legkov 11 behind. And Daniel Rickardson coming home now. You can see here he's going to be, what, about 110? Well, his deficit was 103 at the start, but no problem. I think that's a decent run and a decent finish for him to the season. And look at the difference in stature here between these men. The shortest in height, but the proudest, as the chasing Verlegjanin there ahead. As he comes in 10 there, Marcus Hellner of Sweden going to second place ahead of Jean-Marc Gaillard. 8 there, Sjurota in the red for Norway. At the back there, Heikkinen for Finland as they come round. This is what you can look forward to next year when we come to the World Championships. And Verlegjanin on the charge into the final straight now. Russia, Sweden, France and Norway and Finland coming down towards the line. But it's Verlegjanin, Olympic silver medalist, who comes home, surely, yes indeed, to take that all-important finish, and finishes ranked 5th, the Olympic silver medalist from the 50 kilometers behind Alexander Legkov. 11 finishing there, that was Lucas Bau, the Czech Republic. And another little scrap coming home here. Bauer in 13th place, and Halvarsson not quite the force that he was last year at the Nordic Worlds. Paul Goldberg and Norway, Glursen in there as well. But this is the man. It's only 4.5 hours by car over here. Martin Jacks, bib 17, and he's going to finish 17th. Well, Martin Jonsrud-Sundby deserves all the superlatives. Norway, the Nation Cup winners, haven't really dominated in terms of both the women's and the men's competition. And for his efforts this season, Martin Jonsrud-Sundby, I can tell you how this is an illustration of it as the others start to come home. Prize money of 238,875 Swiss francs. That compares with the man in second place, Alexander Legkov, 80,375. And it reflects that Martin Jonsrud-Sundby has done it from the very start of the season. Well, I should say almost the start of the season. It was in the Nordic opening. He didn't go to Kuusamo, but he's in fact, I beg your pardon, he did go to Kuusamo, but he's notched up that amount of prize money, which is on a par with Therese Johaug. But all of these top guys, of course, like the best of the women, they have sponsorship contracts that make them very wealthy but worthy individuals of the prizes they achieve. And that was the decisive point there. Legkov attacked Jonsrud-Sundby. As soon as he passed him, he counter-attacked. Alex Harvey was on the stretch and closed, but then Jonsrud-Sundby went again to make sure that the title was going to be his in style. And so I can confirm to you actually now that Sundby is the World Cup winner. Of course, Legkov stays in second place, and Alex Harvey has leapfrogged ahead of Chris-Andre Jespersen of Norway to take third place on the podium. Fifth, Kalle Halvarsen, and there you can see it, Daniel Rickardsson and Peder Northug, who has had a forgettable season. But we've come to an end. The cross-country skiers, the Nordic combiners are done. So we now look to the rest of the season. There's still a week to go. The biathletes go to Oslo for their roundup of the season. While the ski jumpers, men and women, go to Planica for the final week of their season.